Hello fellow cinephiles, Film Guru here. Today I'm reviewing 1917. This was directed by Sam Mendes and stars Dean Charles Chapman and George Mackay. The film really focuses on two young British soldiers who are given a seemingly impossible mission to deliver a message to the front line, to let the battalion know that they're walking into a trap. And it's really about these two men going on this journey to accomplish this. They have to go behind enemy lines. They don't know what they're going to come across, whether they're going to run into any of the German soldiers or any other sort of issues along the way. And it's about them just working towards this goal. And one of them in general, Blake, played by Dean Charles Chapman, he's ultimately driven more than Schofield because he really wants to get there because his brother is one of the first battalion to go over in this particular war. He doesn't want his brother to die. And that's his driving force to push the story along and for him, his motivation. Where George Mackay's character, William Schofield, he doesn't really want to get involved. He wants to do as less as possible. And because he wants to get home to his family. And so he doesn't always jump in and get involved in these things. And when he's picked by Blake to go on this journey to deliver this message, he's a bit hesitant. He doesn't want to get involved at all, like Blake is. He just wants to get through the war in one piece and get home to his family. About their journey to getting to the front line. And you don't know if they're going to make it or not. There's a real thriller, mystery element to it because you don't know what's going to happen to them, if they're going to make it there. And even if they do make it there, are the people in charge going to believe what's going on? Or are they going to abide by what the message is ultimately saying, the orders that have been sent forth? And it's really a race against time to get there in time before it all unfolds. I was impressed with this film. Sam Mendes has done a really brilliant job with this movie. He's a very interesting director. I haven't always loved every movie he's done, but he's done a variety of things I've really enjoyed, such as Skyfall and American Beauty, which was his first film. He's crafted a really interesting but yet simple story about these two soldiers trying to get to the front line before it's too late. By making it simple like that, there's two characters we can kind of get behind, and I really like that. I think it's an interesting way to tell a story. And ultimately, it's shot in a way to make it look like it's one continuous shot over 2 particular days. And this is accomplished brilliantly by Roger Deakins, who is a master and he's one of the best cinematographers working today. And just his use of camera. The camera's always moving like the stories, like the characters. There's not really a stagnant shot. He moves around characters, he goes up over hills, he sees things that the characters are seeing. Accompanying that is a production design which is fantastic, creating these war zones and Dead Man's Land and the costumes and the real feel and look of the film. But it's the camera work that really keeps you captivated. There's an energy to it. There's a beauty to it. Each scene is beautifully shot and is breathtaking to watch. And I'd be surprised if he's nominated for his cinematography in this film. There's one scene that takes place at night that is absolutely gorgeous with flares going off and they're trying to make their way through this area that's sort of filled with Germans and they don't know what's going to happen. Just absolutely breathtakingly shot. But most part you can't really tell where the cuts are in the film and that keeps you captivated by it. I must admit it took a little while for me to get into it. It was a little slow to begin with this particular pullback shot of the two soldiers walking and talking as they're going down the trenches. And it gets darker and darker as they go down towards the darkness of war, I guess you could say. But it isn't until they're sent off in their mission, until they go across Dead Man's Land, that it becomes really interesting for me and engaging. And I really got behind the characters. And I was, fearful what might happen to them along the way. What this film does really well is that like I said, it keeps moving. There's no stagnant shots. But what it does is it shows these soldiers as who they are as people. Something will happen, an explosion or something they have to overcome, and then they'll have a quiet moment, which you get to learn more about who the characters are. And I really like those moments. There's just something about the way it's put together that you do feel for the characters. And according to Sam Mendes himself, this is based on either his grandfather or his great-grandfather's stories of World War I, and that inspired him to create this story. And like I said, it's a very simple story, but it's well executed. A friend of mine made a good point. He said that they could have went really big and made a big epic, war film, it's entertaining and fun and all that sort of stuff. But they stripped it bare to a simple story and a simple goal. Two men trying to get somewhere. And that's really what the film is, and it's the journey they go on, that is the experiences that they have, that we sort of go along with them. And the use of the camera with that really tells the story in a brilliant way. The acting, all the acting is solid, especially from Dean Charles Chapman and George McKay. Dean Charles Chapman is an actor I don't really know. My friend told me he's from Game of Thrones. I don't really watch that show, so I don't really know him from that. But I think he gives a really solid performance here. He feels like a young sort of character in this, very gung-ho, very naive soldier who just wants to keep going. You look at Schofield, you know, played by George McKay, and he's really this character that's been scarred by what he's experienced. He just wants to make it home safely. He's seen a lot of death and destruction, and he's seen what war does to men, and he really isn't that excited about getting involved. He sort of just wants to get through it the best he can without putting himself in harm's way. And along comes Blake, who puts him in these circumstances. But it's really showing the difference between these two men, one young and one a bit older who's seen war, and the younger one who hasn't seen as much. There's scenes throughout the film that are just breathtaking to watch, that are quite thrilling and nerve-wracking because you don't really know what's going to happen. There's one particular scene that I think encapsulates Schofield character in a simple way. Like when we first meet him, like I said, he's hesitant to get involved and he wants to not do anything that puts his life in jeopardy. And then ultimately when they're set on this journey where Blake picks him, they go on this journey together. He ends up in the back of a truck with all these other soldiers. And they're all talking about things and sort of being a bit slack about stuff and joking around. And he's been so affected by what he's seen so far. The camera just focuses on him that he's not even connected with these guys anymore. In a way, for me, it felt like he was once one of them, now he's not. And I thought this was a really interesting scene. With the quieter moments, we don't stick on them long. They sort of are a way for the characters to sort of be present. And then something happens and they realise they've got to keep going. And I thought these quieter scenes were very important for the story they were telling, rather than just action, 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 go, go, go. Even though I really enjoyed this and I thought it was a solid film, there were things that I thought they could have done a little differently. Like they introduced particular elements, they introduced anchoring points that they never really pay off in the rest of the film. And it just felt like introducing them, they needed to have a payoff. There were some that did have payoffs, but there was things that just didn't pay off the way I expected them to. And I didn't really feel connected with the characters to begin with. Didn't really feel connected to them until they started on their journey, until they left the safety of their trenches and went through Dead Man's Land, and I sort of felt a bit connected with them. But I didn't feel as connected as I felt I could have been. Some of it didn't have the emotional impact that I expected it to have. Just a little things that niggled at me. It is still a very well made film, and I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. Final thoughts. Really, at the center, I think this film really looks at the horrors of war. And how a lot of the soldiers just want to get home, and how family is important and connection is important, especially in this sort of horrific environment and this event that was taking place in the world at the time. And I think it really encapsulates that. It has a lot of heart, it has a lot of despair, and there is only really one character in it that they meet that sort of motivates them, that sort of gives them hope, that sort of supports what they're doing in just the smallest of ways. And he's the only character that does that for him. And I thought that character was really important in that. But yeah, it's just such an interesting and engaging film that's beautifully shot and well put together. I'm going to give 1917 4 out of 5. I thought it was great and solid and beautiful and one of the better films of last year. Anyway, that's all from me today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit subscribe down the bottom. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Otherwise, until next time, enjoy the movies.